Verse 13. Who is he that will harm you if ye be followers of that which is good? But, and if ye suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are ye, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. So he says, look, if you do what's right, God's going to protect you. You're not going to be harmed. But he says, but if God does decide for you to be harmed, he says, you know what? Don't be afraid of that. Be faithful unto death, and I'll give thee a crown of life. Look at Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They stood up for what was right. They took a stand. And you know what? They could have said, oh, I'm afraid, like Zedekiah. I'm afraid of going into the fiery furnace. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bow down before the image, but in my heart, I'm going to be bowing down to the Lord. I mean, you can see how you could easily justify that. You know, everybody bows down to the golden image. You could just tell yourself, well, okay, I'm going to bow down so I don't go in the furnace, but I'm just going to worship the Lord in my heart. Like in my heart, I'm going to be bowing down and saying, you know, it's to Jehovah. It's not unto this idol. And they said to the king, we're not going to do it. Because they wanted to take a public stand. Because they're a testimony unto a whole. And you know what? The whole world heard that story. Think about it. What if these three guys would have just compromised in their heart, bowed down, and just prayed to the Lord in their heart? Okay. What ended up happening is that a decree ended up going out to all nations that the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego goes, God's the true God. What's that worth? When you take a stand and put your head on the chopping block and you're willing to go into the fiery furnace, that the whole world will hear the gospel. It's worth it. Not only that, but we're still talking about the story today. It's still an inspiration to us today. But even just that generation, it went out into the 127 provinces of the realm that, hey, nobody can speak ill of the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Look, three guys stood up, risked their lives, and then they secured freedom for the whole realm where people were free to worship the true God of the Bible. And so there are so many examples like that because when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were thrown in the fire, they're preserved. Didn't they end up unharmed? In fact, when they got out of the fiery furnace, they're promoted. See, this is where the prosperity preaching gets it wrong. The prosperity preaching says, if you do what's right, bad things won't happen to you and God's just going to bless you. Right? But listen, whenever there's a false doctrine, usually there's a little truth mixed in it, but then they've twisted it. They've corrupted it. Here's the true story of what the Bible teaches. When you do what's right, you're going to suffer for it and go through affliction. That's what the prosperity preacher's not telling you. But most of the time, in the end, you come out as gold.